ritorno
curioso.
dammi il braccio mi avvicina
Obbedisco, Signor.
Thank you so much for joining us today at the Empowerment Zone. My name is Lina Khalife, and I'm the founder of SheFighter. So the Empowerment Zone focuses on highlighting the achievements and women and voices of women who I met through my journey with SheFighter. They're entrepreneurs, feminists, and martial artists all over the world. Today, my guest is Italian-Canadian. Is it the word soprano? Can you pronounce it?
Soprano, perfect.
Perfect. So what does it mean really?
So soprano means that I sing in a certain range, that my voice, my biology means that I sing in kind of the higher range for women, not the highest, but higher than some.
Yeah. So you have appeared in a lot of opera companies all over the world, singing leading roles in Torino, Ravenna, and Spoleto. Did I pronounce it? Spoleto, as well as in Vancouver, Victoria, Montreal, and Toronto. She's also an entrepreneur and founded Cesaroni Consulting. Did I also pronounce it? I'm trying my
Nailed
Italian.
it. No, you nailed it. It's perfect.
Great. Consulting to articulate the value of artists outside of the arts. We're going to hear more from her. Please help me welcome Lucia Cesaroni. Yeah.
Hello.
We have like a virtual audience now.
Yeah, exactly. I hear the applause. I swear.
Yeah. Buongiorno Lucia, come stai?
Buongiorno. Okay, so since you met me with Italian, I'm going to try and meet you with Arabic. Habibi?
Yeah, everybody
Habibi.
knows. Habibi actually means like my love for a man, but if you want to say for a woman, you say habibti.
Habibti. Oh, it's even better. Oh my God, Habibti.
You know, talking about languages, I've noticed that I can't like when I talk, like, because Arabic language, you have to, I think Italian is the same, right? When you talk to a female, it's different than talking to a male.
Yeah.
And do you also pronounce like, but with me, it's really hard when I talk about, because I feel like I'm genderless. And when I talk about, you know, like me talking about me being a female or a male, it's like, it doesn't feel right. And then male, it's like, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, well, but that's the whole thing, right? Those languages are so old. We live in a new paradigm. We have to figure out, yeah, you're right. I don't know the answer to that either, but I will tell you in Italian, the equivalent to habibi or habibti would be bella or bello.
Bello or bella, yeah.
It's sort of like honey, you know, sweetie.
But it's just Latin languages as well, right? They have that because it's old, as you said.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've never imagined myself meeting an opera singer. It's just an honor. I'm really happy our path crossed.
Me too. I feel the same way, Lina. Same way. I didn't think I would be meeting a world champion martial arts fighter. So
you know, the word is crazy. Sometimes you think that it would connect you to certain people, then here you go. It connects you to completely people that you never even thought that you would meet.
Yeah.
So tell us more about your journey with opera. How did you start it, and how did you discover your powerful voice?
Well, yeah, you know, it's a funny thing because it's so niche, right? So people ask me that a lot, like, how did you even figure out that you had a voice for opera? And the short version is that I was always a musical kid. I took piano lessons from the time I was very small, and I wasn't very good at it, right? So it's also like, but I realized that my parents saw that I was musical. So they always had me in kind of like music festival or whatever. And I took singing lessons like for fun as a child, right?
Yeah.
But then when I was in high school, I had the chance to do more theater, right? And that's when I was really like, oh, wow, this works for me. This is
amazing.
Larger than life and loud and high emotions, you know, and that suited my personality, I think. And then also, as I was singing, I had the opportunity, it's sort of like luck a little bit. My parents loved opera and ballet and the symphony and stuff. So they had taken me. So I was very fortunate, which I know all kids are not, to have been exposed to it. So
Yeah.
I knew that it even existed, you know, as an option.
Yeah, but
So
do you believe that parents will have a role on what talent the kids, would be raised into, or like if they just direct them since they're, since childhood, that if they want to become like an artist, or they want to become, let's say, martial artist, or like a singer. So does the parents have influence on their kids on choosing kind of their path or their career?
yeah, I think they very much do, because ideally, I don't know, I'm not a parent. We're not parents, so well, but
I know.
it seems to me,
Yeah.
because I think I was fortunate. Obviously, you were fortunate in being exposed, right, to your passion. I think the idea is that you let kids try a bunch of things, right?
Yeah,
Outside of school. I think that's
that's true.
also, and now we know that the science of why sports and arts for kids, extracurricular, right, outside of school, are so important, because they develop different parts of the brain, different parts of, socializing, right, working as a team. Also, that's true on a sports field or in a theater, right?
Yeah.
It's, you're building the same sort of brain muscles of how do I get along, how do I make compromise, how do I express myself, right?
Yeah.
There is also so much, I think the gift a parent can give a child of trying these different things, right, is they will find the one that suits them, because it's a confidence builder,
Yeah.
right? And that's certainly what it was for me. Was it the same for you? Did you find,
Oh,
you
yeah.
must have.
I mean, it was definitely, sports was an option among all my siblings. So, for example, we had, but kind of like destiny plays a role with it. So, for example, you said like your parents just directed you to arts and music, but like my parents, we had a cousin who started the first Taekwondo center in Jordan, and that was, we're talking about like he started it with like one of the prince in Jordan, Prince Hassan,
Yeah.
and that's how Taekwondo started. Like he brought the Taekwondo to Jordan, and that's where I started. But like my siblings were enrolled too, they did not like it. They dropped out completely after like a month of training.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but as you said, I tried music, I tried volleyball, I tried swimming, but there's like these luxurious, I would say, like activities
Mhm.
that not all countries have. Like, for example, like car racing, or even piano lessons were really expensive.
Yeah.
So what do you say to parents who, let's say, cannot really afford like just enrolling their kids to music? Is there like a way that they can join without having to pay all these amount of money?
No, it's a very important question. It's actually one, I mean, you and I talked a little bit about it before, but we talk a lot about how do we make the arts reflect what, for example, what Canada looks like, or what Jordan looks like, or what Germany looks like today. I'm here in Berlin. And
Not that
but
excited
so
yet.
in my opinion, the way to create lasting change, not just populate a cast of people with everyone a different color and creed and religion, that is one way that can work for now. In my opinion, the way to create lasting change, so that we really have everybody represented and more influences, right? Opening up what classical music, because that's what I know the best, can mean, right? It's that we have to expose kids at a young age from every neighborhood, every background, right? We can put a band-aid on things now as it is, and we can help, right? Of course. But it's the education, and it's a good question. So to me, it's about government and private coming together, private organizations coming together and creating, whether it's grant matching programs, so like fund matching programs, right? To enable kids, and also it's working with the theaters and the companies, and many, I must say, many of them do this already.
Yeah.
I can say in Canada for sure, and the United States.
Oh yeah.
They open up their dress rehearsals, which is a show. I mean, it looks the same as a regular show, to kids from all different high schools, right? Because again, elementary school kids, maybe you need a specific kind of program for them, you know, but high school kids have the maturity to be able to sit through a 3-hour opera, right?
Yeah,
sure.
Definitely.
So this is one of many ways to expose kids. And again, it's not an extra cost to them. Their parents, again, opera is expensive. Classical music is expensive. Like
Very
you're saying,
expensive.
in a lot of the world, just the piano lessons are expensive. Like
extremely expensive.
This becomes a barrier. Absolutely, right? And it's a privileged thing to be able for a family to have the money to be able to even give their kids some kind of extracurricular.
Yeah.
So I think the way we have to tackle it is from education up. I think we have to find more programs where more kids can just see it, can just even see that it exists.
Just imagining, imagining
that
themselves.
It's an option, that it's a creative outlet, and it's also like classical music again is big. It's big emotions, especially opera. Oh my God, opera's nuts, right? Like in the best way, it's totally nuts. But when it's done well, there's a reason it's lasted hundreds of years, right? It's like, because it speaks to something universal, right, in humanity. And so if we can just get kids in the building, right, many of them, it will like, okay, I did that, and they'll go on with their lives. But guaranteed, there will be some kids in there who have creative talent. And maybe it's not that all of them are going to become opera singers, right? But just that they understand that that is a medium that fills their imagination. So like out of that comes, whether it's backstage work, like crew work, or what about costumes, or hair and wig design, or photography, right? Or then never mind, like being an instrumentalist in the orchestra pit, like playing the orchestral music that goes along with the opera. There's so many components, right?
So you do believe that they need to come try and see, like, for example, with SheFighter, with my work, I used to receive hundreds of phone calls asking me about, like, what do you do exactly? I'm like, come try for free. Come try for free. And let's say thousands came to try for free, but let's say like 100 people really enrolled and liked it. But I believe like you need to try it first before, and you need to see if you really like it. You can't just have all the information and think you like it without even trying it. So I always believed in coming, watching like opera singers, and then making a decision. Just maybe you will be inspired. Maybe you'll be inspired by a certain character, like you told me your story. Right? You were inspired by a certain person when you were young.
Yeah, I went to see, my parents brought me, I was 8 years old, and they brought me to see an opera. It's called Tosca, and it's famous Italian opera, you know. But the story, so as an 8-year-old, what stayed in my mind and what blew my mind wasn't the music, right? It was the story and tragedy, the acting, right? So like in this one opera is adultery, murder, torture, suicide, like all in 2.5 hours or whatever it is, you know? And I was just like, wow, like whatever that is, I need more of that. That was insane. And how do I get more of that, you know? And I mean, maybe not every 8-year-old is gonna react that same way. But the point is the exposure, like you say, having the opportunity, leveling the playing field to a certain point that they can, like you say, for your program, they can try it for free, that they can at least have some kind of foot in the door and have an exposure.
Yeah. And have you been raised with a Catholic like family, or in a Christian family, or in a conservative family?
Yeah, so my not super conservative, but it's sort of like Catholicism for Italians is quite cultural. Like it's not, especially in Italy, and certainly I can say in my specific family, not a conservative thing. It's not, we don't talk about, I'm not religious really
So
anymore.
it's like, yeah. So what do you say to people who are raised in, let's say, conservative families, like Muslim families, for example, where, by the way, it's a sin for a woman to sing or even speak louder than, you know what I mean? Like even prayers, like we have prayers here every day, 5 times a day. And it's a sin to have a woman doing the prayer because they believe that a woman's voice will attract men. And I mean, this is, I'm touching religious.
No,
but it's so true. And I mean,
true.
These girls, how can they discover, let's say if they have a dream to become a singer and they tried it in secret and they start singing and they have a beautiful voice. And like, what like advices you would give to these girls who has dreams of becoming singers or even dancers or even actresses, because also everything is a sin for anything entertainment. It's a sin. So how can you?
This again, to me, in my opinion, comes back to the importance in a country like Canada. So like, I can't speak to Jordan, of course, because I haven't had the privilege to be there yet, but yet.
you will, you will come. I'll invite
oh
you.
my God. But in Canada, I think it has to start with the education system, because this is a neutral ground, right? I understand that many of those girls, just as you say, will go home to conservative Muslim families, right? And at home, they might not have the opportunity to be creative in that way.
Yeah.
That's why, to me, it has to be a partnership with the public sector and the private sector in Canada, because, and of course then the theaters, as I said, or orchestras or ballet companies, because that is a neutral ground where the point is education, ideas, right? New ideas, challenging oneself, right? In a non-religious context, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a bit complete. I know.
It's a very serious question that, I mean, neither of us have the answer to. I'm sure you've come across this.
Even in martial arts, can you believe it? I have even girls that, but I believe in something. If they want to break through at some point, even at any, like if they have a dream and they believe they want to achieve it, no matter what barriers there are in life, you can still achieve it. Don't worry about what they think about you or what they believe in you, or if they think you're a sinner or not, you know. But I believe, like I met a lot of women who always wanted to start martial arts at a young age, but because it's, I don't know why they think, some families think it's a sin for a woman to learn how to fight, so they could not. But they came later in life. They came when they're late 20s or early 30s, even 40s, even 50s. I had a woman 75. 75, I swear to God. And she's like, I always wanted to do self-defense. So it's never too late. If some people are having a lot of barriers in front of you, keep dreaming, keep going in life. Just try to find different ways until you break through those barriers, and don't forget your dream. So
Lina, can I ask you, how did you make that a reality in your life? I mean, how conservative are your family? I know you've talked a little bit about that.
I mean, my family is considered like any Jordanian family, conservative, Islamic, religious. But because I think a lot of things would have helped me, like having the cousin in the family who started the Taekwondo center, they felt safe having me there to train. But later on, I changed his center. I did not stay there. I was changing different Taekwondo centers. But it's by the way, when you grow up, I mean, when you're a kid, there's not much pressure. When you grow up and they're like, you know, she's still doing it. There is a lot of pressure. They're like, you need to stop this. This is not for women. This is a man's sport. This is for men, you know, leave it to men. And it's affecting your, identity, your lives. And I'm like, no, it makes me feel confident. It makes me feel complete. It makes me get my energy in a place that is really useful for me. But unfortunately, not all women and girls are willing to go through this path of being fighters since they're born. Although it's a long journey of fight,
Yeah.
but you need to be persistent. And I would recommend girls this: if you want to have something or do something, don't propose it first on your parents, let's say, or even a husband. Do it first. I know I should not say this, but do it first. Start, later on tell them that. Because if they said, oh, I'm planning to start my business, or I'm planning to join opera singing, or they will start, oppressing you in a bad way. They're like, you should not do this. If you think about it, I will kill you if you do that. So don't share your ideas with people who's afraid for you to grow.
We have a saying in English: ask for forgiveness, not permission.
I like that.
And Lina, like, it has a very different meaning from my upbringing versus yours, right?
Yeah.
Like, so the stakes sincerely are lower for me. They were. Again, I was luckily I was born into a family that thought it was great that I was a singer, because there wasn't the cultural or religious stigma, right?
Yeah.
Against my pursuing what I wanted to pursue. And I agree with you that that's another reason why I think it's so important that children have a neutral outlet to try, right? Whether schools do plays, right? Which is always a way that kids get exposed to that way of acting, dancing, singing, right? Playing an instrument. And then as you say, as they grow up, that they continue it, right? You see that it gives, because confidence, even if I make this case all the time for opera, right? Even if you never end up pursuing music as a full-time career, or even if a woman doesn't want to be a world championship fighter, right? The confidence, the self-knowledge, right? Self-awareness, self-knowledge, the idea that she could find her metaphorical voice, maybe literal voice, but certainly at least her metaphorical, poetic voice, right? In doing something she's good at, gives a confidence that lasts. It's a foundation, I think, that can last your whole life, and that carries you through other difficult situations, because it's a healthy outlet. Right? Yeah. So even if it never becomes your life's work, we know from the research, and we know also from our own anecdotal experience, the power that those activities, that confidence that can give young girls and women is insane. Priceless.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the voice. I mean, I've noticed in public speaking, and we're looking at all leaders in the world. So high-pitched voice is not really, it's not desirable when it comes to speaking on stage, even singing on stage, or unless it's a cartoon character where you have to. But tell us more about the voices.
So, we exist in a world where 99% of people are not consciously aware of how they're using their voice, right? Which to me, as an artist, and I think someone like you who is creative, who thinks in this way, there is a kind of metaphorical significance to that, and a literal significance, right? So what I do you mentioned Cesaroni Consulting. So one of the things that I do with clients is teach them, first of all, to be conscious of what they're doing with their voice. This is a thing that we use all day, every day, especially, let's talk about it in a work, professional context, right? Like you say, in a public speaking context, that is usually, not always, but for most people, if they have to present something to a room of people, nerves are going to come into play. There are a lot of factors, insecurity, but so much of that comes from not having the self-knowledge and self-awareness, body awareness, which you and I definitely have in common, right? As an athlete and an opera singer, we know deeply what's going on, right? With our bodies.
Yeah.
We better, or else we fail, right?
Yeah, of course.
So what I teach people, because you're right, high-pitched voice often means nerves, right? There are biological reasons why your voice is going to go higher, or maybe crack, you know, or be have a lot of kind of breathy, or maybe like you can't be heard like in a crowd because, you know, there are many reasons, right? Why and we all hear and see people experience these vocal issues, because the voice actually tells us so much information about the person in front of us presenting.
And do you think there is some kind of training to move from high pitch to low pitch?
Yes. Yeah. This is a hard, you know, we talk about in like a corporate or professional setting, we talk about hard skills and soft skills. So I also teach, as do you, both hard skills and soft skills, right? We're both sort of in that business. But actually voice work is a hard skill. And what I mean by that is there is a research-based scientific method to bring awareness to what you're doing, right? Practicing exercises over a period of time, getting acquainted with what you do, because this is a skill, how you use your voice. So how you choose for, as you said, how to pitch your voice is one example. How low or how high, how fast, how slow, how, what color, what kind of resonance do you want to use?
Yeah.
You know, how loudly or how softly do you want to speak for emphasis, right? These are actually hard skills that you can replicate. So you can learn the skill over time, teach yourself, practice the skill, build a muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
And then you can employ the skills mindfully when you want. So you never have to have a high-pitched voice again unless you choose to, for a specific reason. And this is a great power, right? Again, for confidence, because our literal voice also has a lot to do with our poetic voice in the world, right? Like, what do you want to say, but how do you want to say it? To have the confidence to be able to choose is life-changing, actually. And some people have this innate ability, right? So like, Lina, you as a person, like we've talked a little bit about this before, you happen to have a voice. It's probably partly because of your deep, as an athlete, your body awareness. You're using your lungs, you're using your breath already very well, right? Because you have this talent and then you've learned those skills. You happen to have a voice that commands attention, right? And so this is the goal. But this is a skill. The thing that people don't understand is this is a skill that we can teach.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're not powerless.
I think, and do you think exercises like breathing exercise, because I noticed this, when I started speaking on global stages, I said, I need to start running more. I need to expand my lungs more. I need to have breathing exercises every day. But then I realized also I need to take singing vocal training, because I've never done that before. And everybody used to tell me, oh, you have a horrible singing voice. But is there like some exercises would you teach us, like now, let's say very easy to warm up your voice before, or like to practice the vocal cords, because people just ignore that. It's an instrument and you know a lot about it. So tell us how we can like practice.
Yeah, so there are, now this of course is like just scratching the surface, but the truth is there are some really simple things that we can all do. Let's say before we have to do a Zoom meeting, is a good place to try this out in everyday life that almost everybody is dealing with right now, right? Or if you, let's say you had to post-pandemic, right? You have to give a presentation. Maybe it's just to your team. I don't know. Doesn't matter. In a big room, in a small room, you can take a couple of minutes and do these few exercises And over time, if you do them, again, doing them once is pretty much pointless.
Yeah.
Doing them over time, however, right, builds in the muscle memory, and then you can rely on them, right? So, okay,
Let's do
the
it.
first thing we need to do, it's all about, it has to start with the body and therefore the breath, right?
Yeah.
So we sit in a comfortable but active position, right? So we want to feel our tailbone, we want to feel our sit bones, okay? We want to feel our feet on the floor. We want to feel strong and tall, but not stiff, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we want to find that balance. And I know a lot of people, yoga talks about this, Pilates talk about this, definitely martial arts, right? The balance between tension and relaxation. We need both, right? So we have a comfortable seat. We feel as though there's a string that's coming out of the top of our head so that we are constantly, but very gently, getting taller, right? Even if we close our eyes for a second, we imagine our spine lifting up through the crown of our head, and it feels good. It feels
really
nice to feel tall, but also grounded, right? So we need both. Then we take one hand on our lower, kind of on our pelvis area. Other hand on our solar plexus. So kind of where your ribs, kind of almost where your stomach is, okay? So kind of here, if you can see. So one hand kind of here on the belly and one hand kind of on our pelvic bone, right? So the idea is we want to feel the upper abdominals and also the lower abdominals. So we close our eyes, we feel the string making our spine longer, and we take an in-breath through our nose, and we just feel what's happening in our body when we take a breath. One breath in for the count of 3, and 1, 2, 3, and exhale, 3, 2, 1. So we should feel that there's stuff going on. The first thing is awareness. We have to be aware. Our lungs are expanding, right? Our diaphragm, which is why we have a hand on our solar plexus, is descending. When we inhale, our diaphragm descends gently and our lungs expand. And what we're working toward is feeling that breath all the way down so that we feel something going on in our lower abdominals as well. This is all key.
Yeah, so sorry, but
No.
but what if it helped me a lot, but I yawn a lot before getting on stage, and people think it's rude. Like they think, what, are you sleepy? No, it's just I relax myself fully by yawning like 100 times maybe before getting on stage, but then I have full energy. So about yawning, how first do you recommend stopping it and using another exercises? But my body and brain just got used to it.
No, yawning actually has a great function, which is that especially the first half of a yawn, right? So yawning, of course, we're getting more oxygen, right?
Exactly.
So that's good. But it also serves the function, and this gets a little bit technical. It raises our soft palate. So inside our mouth, right? We have our hard palate. If you put your tongue behind your front teeth, you feel a ridge. So you feel like a little dome, right? That's our hard palate. Behind that is what's called our soft palate, which raises and lowers according to a number of factors, one of which is when we yawn. And that's actually a very easy way to start to feel more of our vocal resonating options. So more colors. When you talk about high pitch, low pitch, if we enable, especially like I said, in the first half of the yawn, right? When you first feel that like impetus to yawn, we're activating our soft palate, which we use in singing, and you also want to use in speaking because it's maximizing your resonators, right? So you're making, just like if you picture yourself as a gorgeous mosque or cathedral or synagogue, right? There are these beautiful dome structures inside.
Yeah.
And they're made of gorgeous kinds of marble and stone, right? That are beautiful to look at. That's what we want to create in our bodies. right?
Yeah.
So we are the space. It's not about the space out there. We are the resonating space. So when you yawn, you are creating more acoustical space, which is physics, right? The more space we have to play with, the more we can bounce sound around, right? And
Yeah.
that's what happens in a mosque or a cathedral, right? We have more of a dome shape, which is better for acoustics. That's why they're built that way, because sound travels better. You can hear more, right?
Yeah.
And more, you can also hear more spectrum, as you say, whether it's brighter or darker. And that's the goal. So we work with half a yawn. Also, when you yawn, it's getting into your lower belly.
Oh,
So when
everywhere. Yeah.
immediately a yawn goes like this, you feel it up and you feel it way down,
Yeah.
right? So that also is giving you more air, right? That you can use more efficiently once we do more exercises, right? This requires a little bit more coordination, but that's why yawning works. That's sort of the quickest way I can explain.
Oh, yeah. Before